If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me tell you about it. It's free, which is amazing. And there are these really cool creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will even distribute your podcast for you, so it's easy to be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get podcasts. And you get to make money with no minimum listenership, which is really cool. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started right away. Yoga teachers, mindfulness leaders, and energy workers, are you ready to stop side hustling and start making an income doing what you love? Welcome to the Marketing Off the Mat podcast. Every Tuesday and Thursday, we'll dive into conversations with successful creatives in wellness, business, marketing, and more to uncover practical methods to take you from A to B and have some fun along the way. My name is Jessica Cross, and I'm so excited to be here with you. Let's dive in. There, welcome back to Marketing Off the Mat. It's Jessica, and today we are talking about sales. Sales can feel kind of like a misalignment with the practice in some ways. Often I hear from clients that they feel a little uncomfortable selling to their communities, that it can feel kind of sleazy in some ways, and it's out of alignment with everything that they've learned throughout their trainings and all of the trainings that they've been through life, and steeping themselves in this slower living, more community-based offerings, less pay, like all of those stories that we've kind of told ourselves about the practice of yoga, meditation, well-being, all of those things. So when you bring that type of energy next to the word sales, it can make you bristle a little bit. It's like, ooh, that does not feel good. That feels kind of icky and uncomfortable, right? But I am here today to bring you a little bit of comfort, because there is another way to look at sales as a service to your community. And we're going to talk about that. So I have three methods, three tips for you today to start embracing sales as a service. Embracing the ability to sell as a vehicle to bring what your client needs to them. That's really all this is. So I've got a few tips for you. Let's dive in. So today, tip number one for embracing sales as a service to your community. Understanding sales isn't taking advantage of people if you are providing the desired outcome for your clients. So we know, and I just know your heart. If you're listening to this podcast, I just know that you are going to show up for your people with full integrity. You are going to give from your heart center in a way that only you can. And it's not taking advantage, because you are going to show up for them in the most true way. I just know it. So when you are showing up like that, you're not taking advantage. You are actually, let me flip it for you. You are actually doing your students or clients a disservice if they cannot purchase an offer from you. That kind of flips it, right? So when you stop telling people, or you don't even begin telling people about your paid offerings, you are doing them a disservice. So think of it that way. If you can't provide income for your family, you can't show up for the yoga. I wish I could remember who I can attribute this quote to, and if I do, I'll put it in the show notes. But there's this quote that says, "The yoga is free, the electricity is not," and we have to make an income in order to continue showing up, to continue to practice, to continue to teach. It has to be an even energy exchange, or you will put yourself and your family at such a detriment that you can't show up anymore. So remember that when you stop telling people about your paid offerings, you're actually doing them a disservice. And that's another way to flip it. when you're thinking about sales is kind of icky. It's actually not. It doesn't have to be. If you're coming at it with that energy where it's like, oh, used car salesman, I feel uncomfortable about this, or I feel uncomfortable about talking about my offer, or maybe there's some imposter syndrome there, which is a totally different podcast, by the way. We can get into that at some point. But if you're showing up with that energy, it's felt. So show up and remember from your center, from brighten up from your heart when you're talking about your offerings, because you're going to show up for those people. Absolutely. So that's the first tip, is understanding sales is not taking advantage. It is showing up for them in the most true way so you can offer them that transformation. Okay. So the next piece of this in embracing sales as a service is, and we talk about this a lot on this podcast, if you come to any of my master classes or we work together, you know how key this is. And it's something that I work on all the time as well. You have to have clarity in who you serve. You've got to get clear on your ideal client. And once you've figured out who that person is, you have to give them what they need. So people buy from people, and they buy solutions to their problems. And you could say, well, what about if I want to buy a piece of jewelry? What problem is that being solved by me purchasing that jewelry? Well, it's making you feel good about the purchase. It's making you feel pretty because you're wearing that bracelet. Maybe you're feeling good about exchanging energy with a small business from whom you purchased. You can get really granular. That's just a very small example about how a sale can fill a student's need or a student's pain point. So once you've gotten really clear about who you serve, figure out what they need, figure out a pain point, and figure out how to solve it for them. You have to remember with this, especially when we're talking about yoga or meditation, that when we're speaking to everyone, we're technically speaking to no one. I'm gonna say that again. When we're speaking to everyone, it means we're not speaking to anyone, because everyone's like, oh, they must be talking to the person next to me, or over there, they're not speaking to me. And you're like, no, I'm speaking to all of you. I can serve everybody. And they're like, well, you don't know me, you don't know what I need. So it's a clarity in your energy, so people know. It's like, hey, Jessica, oh, you're speaking to me. Yes, I'm listening. What do you have to offer? When you offer me that solution to my problem, I'm listening. So it's getting very clear on who you serve and what they need. And once you're clear on who you serve, you might say, well, I'm not sure if I know exactly what they need. That's okay. There's so many ways we can do that. So start gathering information from your clients. This can just be a part of your business mindset. If you're teaching a class, you're having conversations before or after, ask about their week, ask about any workshops or something they're excited about, and just listen in for cues, for things that you can fill that need for them. If you're on Instagram, I love using stories as a way to gather information. There's ability to answer questions and polls. We're also even doing that. I host my podcast on Anchor. This part's not sponsored, by the way, but they have this new amazing tool that you can actually ask questions from the audience. So maybe we'll start using that. There are lots of free tools out there that you can use to gather data from your clients to figure out what questions do they have. Where are they feeling stuck in their wellness journey, or their yoga practice, or their meditation practice? Where are they feeling stuck energetically? And how can your offerings point back to a transformation that you can provide? So once you're gathering that information, start a list, start a spreadsheet. You can keep it all in a certain format, or it could just be a copy paste into a Word document, however you think, but keep it in a centralized area. And once you have a little bit of information, look back at your offer or any of your offerings or things you're planning. Does that plan or current offer meet these needs? And if it doesn't, it's totally okay, because now you know, since you're clear on your client, who your ideal client will be, how you need to reframe your offer to meet their needs. Okay, so that was a lot. Basically we're going back to getting clear on our client, giving them what they need, offering them that transformation. Okay, so tip number 3, final, understand the value of your offerings. So understand the value of your offerings, and then use that value, transformation, promise in all of your copy, everything from your website to your sales page to your Instagram captions that are talking about your offer. Use that value of your offering into the copy. So here's an example. When we're thinking about buying a yoga class, well, there's lots of yoga classes to buy. So what makes your yoga class or the class at your studio or your course different from all the other choices out there? Well, if I'm speaking to my ideal client and I'm telling them, hey, the transformation is that you're going to get 30 minutes to yourself before your crazy workday, and you'll feel calmer and more connected and ready to take on whatever the day has for you. Oh, okay, great. So that's who I'm speaking to. And if that client is hearing my message and that provides them a transformation that is a need that must be filled for them rather, they are going to latch on. They're going to say, yes, that's what I need. And that can be for anything. If you're serving moms with young children at home, maybe you're doing really short nap time style offerings that mama can squeeze into her day when the kiddos are down for their naps. Or maybe you're reaching the overworked individual who only has 5 minutes and has time for a simple pranayama meditation. And that's it. There's so many ways you can look at this, but it all relates back to your ideal client and solving what they need. Okay. So I love talking about this, and it's such an interesting exercise. It's one that I do often, and as I say, I'm always walking this path with you, and as I'm refining my offers, putting things out there, getting information from my clients. So I'd love to hear from you as a part of that. How did this episode land? Does sales feel sort of uncomfortable for you, or are you able to at least at times tap into the idea of sales as a service? I'd love to hear. DM me on Instagram. It's at jessicacross.co, and let me know if you listen to this episode, if you got anything from it, if you're still feeling a little uncomfortable. I'd love to chat with you about it. Okay, I hope you have an awesome day. Remember, your sales matter. You offer a transformation. It's just getting that message out there. We'll talk soon. Thanks for listening to the Marketing Off the Mat podcast. I love hanging with you as we figure this thing out together. Do you have an idea or something to share with me? Send me a DM on Instagram at jessicacross.co and let me know what's on your mind. I'd be so grateful if you shared this with someone who could use this episode. And if you get a chance, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Catch you on the next episode. See ya.